21 years ago, a game called Richard Burns Rally came out. And you know what's really depressing and sad? This is probably still one of the most compelling pure driving simulators that you can play. Yes, in 21 years, nothing has beaten it. So in this video, I'm going to tell you how you can get it really easy to give it a go for yourself. I'm going to explain why it's so phenomenal of a driving experience and what modern simulators and racing games could learn from it. Let the Richard Burns Rally glazing commence. To be able to unsubscribe in disgust, you have to be a subscriber first, so subscribe so you can unsubscribe. Clicking the like button won't be taken as an endorsement of this video or anything that we do. And let's just have a moment of silence for all the channel members and supporters of this channel. Your financial loss is greatly appreciated. And you are indeed guilty for making this happen.
2, 1.
First things first, before I explain why this is so amazing to drive and why it will blow your mind if you've never played it and why all driving sim fans have to play Richard Burns Rally, I'm going to tell you how to get it, because I know that's going to be the top question, and well, just try it for yourself. You don't need to watch idiot YouTube videos, but please bear with us before we get on to the exciting part of the video. So to get Richard Burns Rally, you need to head over to rallysimfans.hu, linked in the description. Now that website has all the instructions on what you need to do to get the game. It might seem complicated at first, but basically what it involves is you need to download their installer, and then they have a torrent link that contains all the game files. Just read their instructions, it will take you 15 minutes to get it all going. Now before you get too worried about copyright infringement and illicit downloading of vehicles, after all you wouldn't download a car, Richard Burns Rally is pretty much the definition of abandonware these days. It was developed by Warthog and published by SCI back in 2004. Warthog then went bust. SCI then sold it, I believe, to a bundling type publisher, and then that publisher went out of business. So basically nobody really truly knows who owns Richard Burns Rally at this point in time. And at this point, the amount of work that track makers, modders, rally sim fans, community people have done to Richard Burns Rally, well, it's kind of its own thing anyway now. It's like the Colosseum. Romans built it to put on events and distract people from terrible political stuff. Did its job, but then Rome disappeared. People stole bricks from it. People lived in it. And now it's a tourist attraction. So, yeah, Richard Burns Rally, the Colosseum of sim racing. So where do we start, guys? Oh my goodness. Right, first of all, let's start with the physics. Now, keep in mind, the Rally Sim Fans version of the game, by default, has some physics adjustments on it. You can unselect them to do the OG physics if you want. But let's start with the physics. The cars in this genuinely handle better than Automobilista 2, iRacing, and many vehicles in modern simulators. Granted, you're often driving all-wheel drive rally cars. That's going to be different to a track-based car, but put that all to one side. There's obviously nuances to all this stuff, different tyres, all that kind of stuff. Put that to one side. The point is, from a driver's perspective when playing Richard Burns Rally, and this is what got me addicted to it when I first played it, when it actually came out, the cars allow you to hold and balance slip properly, modulate the throttle properly, balance between the steering wheel, the brake and the accelerator properly. It's basically ticks that underlying basic requirement for what I would consider to be realistic car handling. AMS1, Race Room and the original Assetto Corsa also do this as well. Now, Richard Burns Rally is not perfect in handling. It's definitely a little bit overly snappy and some aspects of it a bit simplistic. But, you know, the fundamental driving captures the essence of driving, which is incredible given that that all happened in 2004. And I would say this is what actually truly got me into sim racing, was playing Richard Burns Rally with a G25 when the G25 first came out. It's what sold me on sim racing. Richard Burns Rally and then Live for Speed. because you can fundamentally drive the vehicles without it being an absolute chore of trying to underdrive or only drive into slip in a bizarre way like you have to in iRacing. Then, when you combine the handling with the stages, it's absolutely fantastic. Ignoring all the incredible mod tracks and just the default content that's in the game, they feel, when you're driving, like real-world locations. Sure, it doesn't have the most advanced graphics. It did have good graphics when it came out, obviously, but for today's standards, in terms of shiny textures and numbers of objects all over the place, but the road surface feels like a real road surface to drive. The sort of camber of the road, the divots, the armco at the side of the road, bits of fencing that actually collapses and stuff if you hit it. So there's like physics-based bits of fencing. Functionally, it's basically ticks the boxes. Like, also when you're driving really quickly through a rally stage, you're really not, you know, studying the stones at the side of the track. It's the overall shape of the stage, and even more crucially, it's what things look like about 200 metres or 100 metres in front of the car, because you're not really looking at what's right in front of you. You're internalising the pace notes, you're internalising the flow of the stage and the current position of the vehicle, and then you're using your vision into the distance to help refine the pace notes and the knowledge of the pace notes to then be able to set the car up to drive through the track through the stage as quickly as possible. What you also find, even with the default stages in this, is that they open up and have so much range to them, where you might have a bit of section of track that, like this, is all just hairpins all over the place, but then you might have a lake suddenly appear, or you go from one country to another country and the whole sort of geometry and geography is completely different. The variation of the different countries, combined with even the variation of the stages themselves and bits of the stages, means that you're always just engaged and always thinking about how to approach things, and also gives a huge amount of replayability to the locations that are in the game. Something that's been massively lacking from many more modern rally games, and something that fundamentally makes the simulator really engaging and compelling to actually drive and play. What's really mind-blowing as well is that you have things like photographers that walk on the track and then run out of the way with a really nice animation for when your car comes. Treat. And you also have like birds and wildlife on the track. Sometimes you can hit into it. But it makes it feel alive. Again, 21 years ago, you have this. Like, stuff that makes the world feel alive. And it's, in this case, it's just small touches here and there. But it's like, why isn't there more of this stuff in modern rally titles, right? It's super mind-blowing. And even in track racing games, why aren't there more interesting things that make a track feel alive and real? I'm going to give credit to iRacing, the way that the grass and dirt is kicked up from cars and then that particles, they hit your car. That's a good example of what I'm talking about, and that's really well done. But it's like, why is that so rare? It's not even necessarily the hardest of thing for a developer to do, but the effect it has for the player in building the reality of the virtual world and creating the magic of the virtual world being real is super, super powerful. Look at that animation. When you're concentrating on trying to drive a rally stage, they look in your mind's eye like real people, because you're just seeing the movement and you're like, oh god, I'm barely in control of this rally car. Absolutely superb, guys. Right, and now what's also mind-blowing with this is the force feedback is absolutely, totally adequate for you to be able to feel what's going on with the vehicle. Like, you can feel the load of the car left and right. You can feel road texture and a sense of if you're on dirt or if you're on tarmac. You can feel if you're locking up. You can feel if you're near the limit of the tyres, if you're holding slip. You can feel what the vehicle wants to be doing. The force feedback is better in many ways than iRacing is out of the box, is force feedback. Marvin's force feedback's pretty great with iRacing, though iRacing's physics obviously let it all down. It's miles better than ACC, better in many ways than Evo. It's like obviously better than the WRC games, and you know, I mean, I think Dirt Rally 1 actually had really good force feedback. Oh, it's better than the Nakon Rally games, or is it Kiloton Rally games, the Sebastian Loeb Rally and stuff. 2004, guys. And then, right, this is what absolutely blew my mind. If you crash and do damage to the car is often still drivable, but the damage affects the steering. That's how you finish a stage. This is the first time we've played this in a long time, guys, so please bear with the driving in this. But the damage affects the vehicle's handling and the force feedback, but the force feedback communicates what the damage has done, so you can still drive the car using the force feedback that's wonky because of the damage. I've not seen that in any modern racing simulator. I mean, other than I think Beam NG is the only modern sim where the damage affects the force feedback in a sort of realistic way, where you can still drive but you can still feel what's going on and you can still feel it through the damage. Now, you know, it's obviously a little bit baked in Richard Burns Rally in how that all operates, but it's still just on another level. It's on another level to other stuff that we're currently playing 20 plus years later, guys. I mean, and this is the thing, right? People are like, Gamer Muscle, why are you so miserable and critical about modern simulators? Oh, what's wrong with you? And it's like, well, you know, we've been around these games for a very, very long time. And I, in my mind, am comparing stuff with everything that's available. And, like, sure, you know, there's lots of industries where things get worse over time rather than better. We're all familiar with incitification. However, what you don't typically get is insane backlash or an utter ignorance of the previous things that were better. Again, I bring up the Jurassic Park comparison because unfortunately I did watch the new one recently. I still haven't recovered, even though it was over a month ago. Anyone that's watched the first Jurassic Park film would be like, yeah, okay, the new film's really not very good for XYZ reason. And people would go, yeah, those are good reasons, agree with you, whatever, we still like the film or didn't like it. But they'd at least acknowledge it, right? Whereas what's weird with Sims and things is that because of the nature of the sort of weird fan base, delusional, God knows what's going on in people's heads, and selective thinking and just lack of knowledge of things, when I compare new stuff to old things, I get like this mental backlash from people, and then this sort of framing that I'm some like depressed lunatic being overly critical, when the reality could not be further from the truth. We are so mild when you actually compare the quantitative, objective features of these older Sims to newer stuff. Granted, there's lots of good things in newer Sims that are great, you know, better graphics, more complex physics. There's lots of really interesting and great things in the new simulators, but there's also the absolute fundamental gameplay that the driver's doing, the fundamental playing of the video game, which is ultimately what people are doing with a simulator. That has not got better. I can't... Let's be real, guys. Comment on this if you agree or disagree. It'd be interesting to know what you think. When I was playing this again, I was having a better gameplay experience than pretty much any modern simulator. Like the actual gameplay, what I was doing, how immersed I was, my actions, my feeling of it being my fault for my bad driving, the feeling of connectedness. You know, the raw gameplay is better in this. You know, I think, like, as I say, AMS1 can come close, or AMS1 and AC are sort of in the same general ballpark. They're doing a different thing. But, it's just... Look at the raindrops. They're not moving up the screen. But look, it looks wet. The car's more slidey. The road looks wet. The trees look wet. The sky looks wet. It looks like the UK. We're not having to use physically based textures and advanced real-time ray trace, God knows what, to achieve what is required. Let me sip my tea, guys. If this hasn't convinced you to at least try this, I don't know what to say. Also worth really pointing out with Richard Burns Rally, if you play through the original one, you have the whole driving school and single player to play through. And the driving school in Richard Burns Rally is still the best driving school for any realistic racing simulator or game. Like, it will explain to you how to drive a car. It's better than the Gran Turismo driving school. You will learn the fundamental essence of what it is to drive a rally car. How incredible is that? It's a video game that basically gives you the same effective lessons you would only get if you did real rally driving at a real rally school. Incredible. And then the single player, you really feel like you've got these different locations to go through, and the different rallies, car repairing, whole bunch of stuff to consider. It's a fun game to play through. It is, in fairness, it still has to be critical, it is very hard. you know, if you crash once on a rally stage, that is it. Goodbye that whole location. And when we were first testing this in the live stream, we kept crashing on the first stage of each location. So the team was basically flying to like Japan, and then we crash after 2 corners. It's like off to Australia, crash after 2 corners, off to America. The most expensive corners in all of motorsport for Team Gamer Muscle. But that's just, it's fine, because deal with it. Deal with it. And then what happens is you have the tension of actually driving precise, and again the replayability. So if you absolutely hold a player's hand, you lose the tension, you lose the how compelling a thing is to actually play. It definitely could have been a lot more accessible, especially on gamepad. So, you know, they definitely could have done a better job. But yeah, I've barely scratched the surface, and especially in terms of what you can now get out of Rally Sim fans. So Google, check out videos on that, download it, give it a go. It is absolutely amazing still. And yeah, what is going on with sim racing, guys? It's 2025. Literal World War III is started, and we can't even have a better sim than Richard Burns Rally. Well, there you go. That's why I've gone insane when it comes to racing simulators. Thanks for watching this. Till the next one, guys. Happy tea drinking. Take care, and goodbye.